Leave it. Oh, and the police one? We got on? Oh, how was it?
I think so. Yeah, we just need a
What
little
do you guys
time.
50 miles an hour.
Yeah, electric cars supposed to have great acceleration.
So that torque.
I don't want to keep that. Running. The road race. Good public works department.
Last year, he checked and he said, I'm not getting any compensation from them. It's just okay. You want me to send them?
Just ignore.
Okay.
Okay. That would be best. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the September 5th edition of the Lexington City Council meeting. Thank you all for being here. It is good to be with you and to see you all. Before I call the meeting to order, I would like to provide the guidelines for addressing City Council and request prior notification be given when possible to the city manager or myself when you wish to address council. Public comments are always welcome. I ask that you sign up prior to our meeting and you will be recognized during the citizens remarks section of our council's agenda. During the agenda item, I ask that these guidelines be followed. First, that you stand at the podium, and for the record, please state your name and if you are a resident of Lexington, Virginia. And if you want to be contacted, please provide your contact information to the clerk. Next, make your comments to the council as a whole. We're here to hear you, not engage in discussion. We ask that you be brief, state your position and provide facts, and provide written statements and or supporting materials to our clerk, Janie Hostetter, for distribution to the council and the city manager. Debate is prohibited. We ask that you speak clearly as we want to hear what you have to say. In general, we will limit individuals' comments to 3 minutes and groups to 5. When there's not a big crowd, we may deviate from that and allow a little more discussion or presentation. And with that, again, welcome, and I'd like to call our meeting to order. The first item, if you all will please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. Next item is consideration of the agenda. I'm not aware of any additions or corrections or other items. Unless there's an objection, we will adopt the agenda as presented. It is adopted. Next, public hearings, 6.1, public hearing, consideration of requests from Sam and Jackie Calhoun for a property boundary line adjustment. And I'll call on Arnie Glazer, Planning Director.
Good evening, everyone. We do have a request for a boundary line adjustment, actually 2. They were quite similar in nature, but to start with the first one for 31 Chamberlain Loop Road, perhaps best to direct you to the location map there. These are the only 2 parcels in the Weatherburn subdivision, even though it's not accurately shown on the map, but these 2 parcels are the only ones that actually go to the back property line. And the back property line in this particular case is also the city-county boundary. One thing I'd like to make very clear is that the city is not increasing in size and the county is not decreasing in size by this proposed boundary line adjustment. The folks that own the property, the Calhouns, they maybe should direct you to the next page for the preliminary plat. On that, you see the property lot number 17 is owned by the Calhouns, and then you see a shaded area behind that that's a 0.206 acre parcel. This property is approximately 5 acres in size that the Wilburs own, and it has been for sale, as I understand it, for quite some time. And the Calhouns and their neighbors would like to buy a portion of that 5 acre property and add those two portions to the rear yards of their properties. The reason why we're here before you this evening is it's a two-step process. The county cannot subdivide that 5 acre parcel into the two small bits that we're talking about tonight, because those two small bits are not 2 acres in size and therefore do not meet their minimum zoning district requirements for, I think, what is an R1 zoning district. So first, the request is, will the city accept the two bits to be added on to the two existing properties? And then the next step for them would be to actually go through the subdivision process in the county. Because the two small parcels are actually increasing the size of a parcel that's already conforming with respect to the zoning district requirements, in this case, Weatherburn is an R1 with a PUD overlay. The proposed boundary line adjustment does meet the zoning requirements for parcels in that R1/PUD overlay, and staff therefore recommends approval. Planning Commission did hold a public hearing and also has a unanimous recommendation for approval. You do have the minutes of that meeting attached. Perhaps the only other thing to mention to you is the applicant is Brian Kearney on page 6 or 9 of 10 of this portion of your packet. We do have a statement there, and just to highlight that it is a request to add a 0.206 acre parcel in Rockbridge County that is unimproved. And that means the entire parcel will be 0.312 acre parcel will be taxed as part of the city's assessment, cannot be taxed by the county, as doing so would create an improper subdivision within the county. And he's further states that this has been confirmed with Rockbridge County. So just to summarize, this is a boundary line adjustment where a smaller portion of land is being added to a portion or parcel that is already in the city. And this does not affect the boundary between the city and the county at all. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there other examples of property that is in the county that's on our tax maps? Or would this be the only one?
I don't know the exact answer to that, but I can partially answer that. And I have knowledge that there are other parcels, not in Weatherburn, but in just a little bit further to the east, that are partially in the city and partially in the county. I'd have to check with our Commissioner of Revenue to see how they're taxed, since part of the property is in the city and part of it's in the county. So I don't know off the top of my head how it's taxed.
Do we, and this might be a question for legal counsel, but do we have the authority to add something to the tax map that's in the county?
That typically comes down to an arrangement between the respective commissioners of revenue and how they opt to tax the property. It is not uncommon to have a parcel that straddles a jurisdictional boundary such as that. And I know when Arnie and I discussed it, we focused on, well, whose zoning is going to apply, and the original zoning applies. So whether a structure can be built on the added parcel will depend on the Rockbridge County zoning ordinance. It doesn't become subject of that partial doesn't become subject to our zoning ordinance. The taxing really comes down, as I see it, to an understanding between the commissioners as to how they want to divvy it. I understand what the issue here is. You can only have a certain size subdivision in the county, and since these are smaller than what would be permitted, they can't be separate lots there. So they're going to be joining in with the city parcel, and apparently the commissioners have agreed that that parcel should therefore be taxed to the city.
Is this a case where they're going to have to follow our zoning and their zoning? So,
Our zoning in the city, their zoning in the county.
okay.
If I could add one thing that I just recalled, we did have a number of questions from adjacent property owner, Steve and Katie McAllister. And they were asking the question, what could be built on the small sliver of properties that are still in the county, but behind them? And ultimately had to get that answer from the county planning director. But since that time, I do have an email in the file, which I could show, but they are now supportive of the request, where previously they weren't not supportive of it, but they had a number of questions on what could potentially be built, but they are now supportive of the requests.
Is there any objection from the county to doing this? When we've cleared it with them and
Talked to my counterpart, and we had a number of questions going back and forth about the zoning again. But no, it seems that the applicant has already contacted the county, particularly their commissioner of revenue, and there's not an issue with these two smaller pieces being taxed by the city.
And they'll have to do a boundary line adjustment.
Still have to do a subdivision in the city or in the county for their portion of it.
Thanks.
What did we learn that could be built there? Could a shed be put there? Could a swimming pool? Could a fence? If I get that a house could not be like an ADU, a detached ADU, I guess, but could a swimming pool be put there? Could they?
I'm sorry, I do not believe I got a final response because it was really between the property owners and the county as to what could or could not. And I don't recall receiving it or being copied on an email that said, yes, a shed of X square footage could or could not be built.
But
there.
if they were to need water on that, it would be they'd be a city would be servicing that with city water, right?
Presumably, yes, because I think that's the portion of the county that the city is providing service to. One other thing to add in the email discussions with Chris Slayton, since it's not, this parcel that remains in the county does not meet their zoning requirements, they could not build a house on it.
Correct.
But whether or not some of the accessory things could or couldn't was still up for debate.
There's another instance that comes to my mind about property that straddles city and county. It was Kendall. The new addition to the city park, there were parts of the existing building that straddled the city county boundary line in there to do that. And I think that also was worked out in terms of taxing between the commissioners of revenue on that. There is I guess a precedent of sorts on how to handle that's been in practice.
And my recollection from past service on council, Jack Page, who lives on Shenandoah, the line runs through his house. And as I recall, his house is entirely taxed by the city of Lexington. Rockbridge County, the piece that's there is not subject to taxation. And he was able to serve on city council. So I don't know exactly how the line runs through his property, but I remember that conversation in years past. So
One more
other
quick
questions? Yes.
question. In this statement, it says there's no known adverse impacts to city by allowing this boundary line adjustment. Does the city know of any potential adverse? Okay.
I do not.
Thanks.
Other questions? Not Arnie, thank you. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing and see if there's anyone who would like to speak to this item. I'm not aware of anyone that signed up. Not seeing anyone interested in speaking to this topic. I will close the public hearing at 7:12 and ask for council's consideration.
I move to approve preliminary subdivision application PS 2024-03 for the adjustment of boundary lines between 31 Chamberlain Loop, tax map number 39-1-1-17, and an adjacent unimproved parcel in Rockbridge County, tax map number 0750C008A 0000040 in accordance with the plat showing boundary line adjustment for Curtis S. and Janice V. Wilbur, Sam W. and Jackie H. Calhoun, and Nancy Trumps, completed by Perkins and Orson as submitted by the applicant.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'm not clear on how many zeros there were.
It's an eye test.
And Arnie, this references Sam and Jackie and the public hearings for their 31 Chamberlain. Will we do the same for Nancy? She's identified in here as well, or is that?
That's simply because the plat has both of them listed there, but we still have to do a separate public hearing
Okay.
for the other application.
Terrific. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure. Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call vote. Mr. Alligood.
Aye.
Mr. Ziegler. Ms. Strong. Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Betts.
Aye.
Ms. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all very much. And Calhoun's, enjoy your 0.2 in the county. Next item on the agenda, public hearing concerning Nancy Trumps. Arnie.
Very similar request as you just heard, but this is for a 0.175 acre parcel to be added to the lot at 29 Chamberlain Loop Road, which is lot number 18, as you see on the preliminary plat there. Again, it's the exact same type of request where nothing is going to change as far as city-county boundary occurs. Happy to answer any questions.
Members of council have any questions for the director? Hearing none. Thank you, Arnie. This time I'd like to open the public hearing for item 6.2, request from Nancy Trumps to adjust the property boundary line at 29 Chamberlain Loop. Is there anyone who'd like to speak to this item? Hearing none, I would close the public hearing at 7:15 and ask for council's consideration.
I move to approve preliminary subdivision application PS 2024-04 for the adjustment of boundary lines between 29 Chamberlain Loop, tax map number 39-1-1-18, and an adjacent unimproved parcel in Rockbridge County, tax map number 0750C00A 00000040 in accordance with the plat showing boundary line adjustment for Curtis S. and Janice V. Wilbur, Sam W. and Jackie H. Calhoun, and Nancy Trumps, completed by Perkins and Orson as submitted by the applicant.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Mr. Betts.
Aye.
Mr. Ziegler.
Aye.
Ms. Strawn.
Aye.
Mr. Alligood.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Good work, staff, and thank you all for your time and attention on these items. Next item on the agenda is consideration of minutes. The August 15 regular meeting minutes were in your packet. Unless there's an objection, we will approve those as presented. Hearing no objection, they are approved. Next item, citizens' remarks and comments. It's the time we love to hear from our community and invite anyone that would like to speak. Brianna, I know you said you'd like to. Come on up. Bring your bodyguards. Sure.
Hello there. My name is Brianna Hines. I work very closely within the community of Lexington with mentally disabled adults. We frequent businesses probably to the point where they roll their eyes when they see us now, more than like that friendly wave you get. But I had a bigger picture in mind that had to do with the sidewalks in downtown Lexington and all over the city. There were so many questions within my own conscience about, am I disgracing the bricks? Am I, painting over history ordeal? So I kind of not made the bigger picture smaller. I made the area smaller and made the idea bigger. So what you'll see rolled out here is what I call an interactive sidewalk, and my children are going to help demonstrate it. So right here, it says start, and it says watch out, and it says head on up the road. It says follow the rules of the road and watch out for obstacles. So you come across a tree that you have to jump over, and then you encounter a stop sign, and then you encounter road work where you have to slow down, and then you get to the finish line. And then here, there's a visual of a nose and a mouth. I mean, they just did some energetic things. So it's reminding you to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, which is a mental health technique. Doctors use it to listen to whatever stuff they're listening to in there, right? And then it gives you a minute to think about it. Like, are you ready? And then next is the fun part. You stomp like a T-Rex. Can you imagine seeing a dad walk along with his son, both of them just being like the cutest T-Rexes you've ever seen? And then you continue on and you hop on the lily pad like a frog. Probably not recommended for, I'll just say older folks. And I consider myself like And then this is the super fun part. It says, now, let me see you jump, jump. Which is the 90s. Slide something in. But then in parentheses, it says, oh, but I forgot to tell you the floor is locked. And so they have to jump to the circle. I don't know if you've ever met a kid that does not love the floor is lava for at least 2 weeks. Right. And then this is the fun one. I have other roles that are educational, such as scrambled letters and numbers, jump on letters only. So smaller children are identifying letters and numbers, ideal for schools, libraries. I take walks with tiny humans. Very good job. I take walks with big humans with tiny human minds, right? I take walks with everybody all throughout Lexington. And I fully believe that this would be a wonderful addition. I would do the artwork myself with, after a little bit of research, I would find the proper paint to make sure it lasts and is durable, and would fundraise if necessary. But honestly, I came here for opinions. I've sent an email on the matter, just shotgunning the idea. So I would appreciate any feedback or concerns that you guys have. Thank you so much for your time. I'm gonna say thank you.
Thank you.
Brianna, thanks for the concept. Usually we don't get into back and forth, but for your request for feedback, are you talking that you would you mentioned the schools? Is this something that you would apply to the sidewalk at the school that would be relatively permanent?
Yeah, as long as weather and time would permit, of
Right.
course. Yeah, my kids attend Central Elementary, so I know and frequent those sidewalks very much for very many different reasons.
Yes.
It's just, something fun for parents and kids alike.
But it would be applied, it wouldn't be this necessarily
No, it
rolled
would be
out.
applied directly.
Okay.
So there'd be much more movement, much more mobility,
Yeah. Very good.
This
Very
is just
good.
a visual aid.
Excellent. Well, members of council have questions or feedback for Brianna?
Would this be in one location around a school or a park or?
I was thinking, within Lexington, I'd be willing to branch out to Buena Vista, but I'd like to start at home. Central and Waddell really is what I'm thinking. Maury River, they'd probably roll their eyes because they're too cool for anything right now. And then at the library, and that was inspired by an art project they did under their gazebo. So those are the main areas that I narrowed it down to that I think would be beneficial and get a lot of traffic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's
Say-
a comment.
Yes, Ms. Alexander.
Brianna, you kind of on the same page that I've been on. I have
Okay.
a camera in front of my house
Mhm.
where I can see people walking down the street, walking their dogs.
Yeah.
So I was going to have my grandchildren to paint out on the crayon,
Mhm.
sidewalk crayon, a hopscotch
Love
pattern.
that.
And I want to be able to see people who are walking their dogs play hopscotch going down the street. It's something different.
And
It's
that's the
it's in
same
a
concept.
neighborhood, so that's,
Yeah. It would bring joy to observers and doers,
what has Maryland done today?
Thank you.
Great idea.
Thank you for being with us. And as far as working towards seeing this through, we'll direct you to the city manager to work with Public Works and school system to see how something like this might be able to be implemented and work forward. But love the idea, love the energy, and love the mascots to show us the way.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all.
Certainly. Thank you. Come back and see us anytime. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to council on items not on the agenda? Very good. I will take a point of personal privilege and move item 15-1 up as Mr. Madsen is here on the front row looking happy and excited. So Greg, take it away.
Thank you. It's always great to be here, Mr. Mayor, members of council and city manager. I'm joined by Jay Williams. He's the chair of our hospital board and he's also on the Carilion Clinic System Board. And so I appreciate him being here, and it's good to see another hospital board member, Miss Alexander, here too. We appreciate you serving on the hospital board. I've been at Carilion Rockwood as the administrator for nearly 9 years now. It's a wonderful hospital. I'm glad to talk about the hospital in any way you want to, but I'm here to talk about a very important regional program It's a kidney transplant initiative, and I put a one pager on your desk in front of you. And this is a very, very significant undertaking that we want to do in Roanoke. And we're going to all the local governments surrounding our hospitals, from Tazewell to Franklin to Giles to Lexington, Rockbridge, to ask for support, a resolution of support that will go to the VDH, the commissioner, to which we have to get approval to start this program. We'll go in January and kind of make our argument. But there's a lot of investment that goes into this. There are 2,300 people on a waiting list. I was just at Buena Vista, Doug was there, and there was a lady in the audience who works for DaVita. And she wasn't a plant, nor do I even know her, but she got up and said, this is the most needed program here because so many people don't get kidney transplants close to home. You got to drive a lot. So we want to bring that service to Southwest Virginia. And your support will go a long way towards that. I could go on and recite some statistics, but I think I'll just leave you with this one pager. There's a QRS code here, which if you wanted to do an individual letter of support, you just put in your name, it writes a letter for you, sends it to the right place. I've done one, the chamber has done one. And the last thing I would say is that the Rockbridge County Board of Supervisors and Buena Vista all unanimously approved this. But I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Members of council have questions for Mr. Madsen.
I have quickly.
Mr. Elliott.
Where are the transplants done now?
UVA.
Only UVA.
Yeah, and a great question that was asked earlier by the Rockbridge group was, is the waiting list due to lack of organs or lack of programming, meaning, multiple programs? And our transplant surgeons say both. So having another program would add expediency to getting an organ should one become available for a recipient. But we think it's a life-saving program.
How long would it take to get the program up and running once
You sat in with the transplant surgeon. Do you know the answer to that? It'll take a while, a year or two. And then we want to do more organs. We want to have a full-blown program and starting with kidney, but go to others. Carilion Roanoke is the level 1 trauma center, has all the infrastructure and the physicians, and we have transplant surgeons now who can do this. They go to other facilities to do this procedure, but we have them as part of Carilion Clinic. Thank you.
Is it going to result in a new construction effort at Roanoke?
No.
Use of existing facilities?
Yeah.
And there's just a
Doing
matter
enough
of
construction.
schedule.
But I think it will also help our local hospital. We can do some of the ancillary support and lab tests and x-rays and all the different things that you might need here. We want to help people get access to care close to home. And this is about as close to home as you can get in Lexington.
Kidney disease is on such the rise because a lot of people think that because somebody goes to dialysis is because they have diabetes. But there's so many other diseases that cause the kidneys to shut down that it just seems to be almost an epidemic these days. So it is good to have a second location to be able to ease that need to have those transplants done.
You speak perfectly to the need.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Madsen? Did you want to make a
At
statement?
this point, yes, for the matter of full disclosure, as Greg said, I am on the hospital board, but I did check with our attorney to determine to just make sure that I don't have a reason for recusing myself. And because I'm not monetarily assisted by being on that board, there's no reason not to vote. Correct?
We'd be very grateful for your vote.
Yes.
Love
Very
to be
good.
able to make that vote.
Very good. Thank you, Greg. Jay, anything to add or just here for moral support? Very good. I would ask for, thank you for being here, and I would ask for council's consideration of this resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-12, a resolution of support for kidney transplant services provided by Carilion Clinic at Carilion Roanoke Memorial Hospital.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Mr. Ziegler.
Aye.
Ms. Strawn. Mr. Alligood.
Aye.
Mr. Betts.
Aye.
Mr. Smith. Ms. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll get that signed resolution to you, and best wishes on securing that certificate of need and moving forward. And thanks for your contributions in the community and being there when we need you most. Next item on the agenda, consent agenda, and there are some items there for your consideration. And welcome your consideration of
Make a
these
motion that
items.
we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion is second, roll call vote. Mr. Betts.
Aye.
Mr. Alligood.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Ziegler.
Aye.
Ms. Strawn. Ms. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all very much. Look forward to lots of fun in the streets of Lexington. Reports and communications, Blue Ridge Resource Authority, Mr. Smith.
No report.
Main Street, Lexington, Mr. Smith.
No report.
Maury Service Authority, Mr. Alligood.
I do have a report. The MSA board met and approved the ordering of oxidation ditch aerator mechanical drives. These were the original ones at the plant, and they've begun to fail. And so it's making do, as I've been saying quite some time, in terms of trying to get ahead of the issues that we know are out there. And so the MSA board approved ordering 3 aerator mechanical drives. These are expensive items. And the board also approved ordering a spare. There are 2 types. Order a spare of each type. And just for your information, to give you another point on the curve of the money involved, the estimate for the required ones and the 2 spares is $450,000 in there. And this is just one part of the plant. And this was part of the plant that's been in the developing phase for this modernization. It's not new. It was going to occur. As the timetable has just been accelerated a bit. And unfortunately, the delivery schedule for these drives is 9 months. And so we're still going to be eking along, but we went ahead and placed the order and approved that. The money's already being spent to do that. And it's one of these things, you really don't have a choice. You're going to keep that plant in operation. Additionally, the raw water pump number 2 replacement was making bad noises, and it was replaced. And fortunately, we had a spare. This is part of the program that's been discussed at some length about having preventive maintenance items available. And so it was available for this particular one. So there was a spare. And so the ordering has occurred for the spare replacement that just got used in there. And it's a critical pump because it supplies the water directly to the treatment process from the river. And so it had a long life, and it's been replaced, and fortunately we had the spare. So we're in terms of operations, trying to get ahead of the problems is what I'm about in terms of getting the preventive maintenance program in place. And so going ahead and spending the additional money for the spares helps that along for these mechanical drives. And so I just wanted to let you know about those serious expenses that have occurred recently. Yeah. End of report.
Thank you, Mr. Alligood. Any questions for Mr. Alligood?
For the first, I guess, equipment that you mentioned, did you say that, are they still operational now? But
So there's one that is in imminent failure,
okay,
and the others are the same age.
okay.
And so they're all the same age. And so the one that's giving the indications of imminent failure is the one that made this happen.
Would the other ones be able to pick up the slack for the other one while we're waiting on the new replacements?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's right. And so that's what we're doing. So we're kind of taking a little bit from here, putting it there and hoping for the best that the others don't show drastic failure as well, which they don't and haven't yet, but one did. And they're all the same age, and they're all the same type of equipment there.
Thanks.
I was on W&L property next to the raw water pump station during the swap out. Saw all the activity, and Director Coombs is down there and said, you know, what's going on? Because they had the auxiliary pump to pump the water while they were doing the swap.
The large diesel pump.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a bunch of guys running around doing what they had to do, but it was, I guess it had to happen. Jordan said pretty much the same thing. The pump was making some bad noises, so they went ahead and pulled the trigger to swap the replacement in for the one that was making the noise. How much is the replacement pump? How much is the spare pump that's been ordered?
Oh, the dollar value
Yeah.
of it there, I don't know.
Okay. Just curious. As we're tallying up all these costs, it's just helpful to understand what, on top of the drives that you mentioned before.
Right. The ones that I had the dollar amount.
Yeah, okay.
Other drives.
Just curious. Thank you.
Substantial expenses, to be sure. Planning Commission, Ms. Strong.
Sure. The Planning Commission met on Thursday, August 22nd, and we addressed two items of business. One was an application by John Adamson to renew a conditional use permit, allowing a portion of the building located at 2 South Main Street, owned by Rockbridge Partners LLC, to continue to be used as a public assembly and an educational facility, college/university, and to acknowledge the educational facility, college/university for administrative office use for the remainder of the building. The CUP was unanimously approved with the condition that the administrative office use was for a period of 15 years, then it would have to be renewed. And the second item was an application by John Adamson for approval of a conditional use permit allowing portions of the Rockbridge building located at 9 through 17 South Main Street to be used as an educational facility, college or university, administrative offices, and as a public assembly. And this item will be continued at a future meeting. And that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for Ms. Strong? Hearing none. Regional Tourism, Mr. Betts.
No report.
Raro, Mr. Ziegler.
The Aurora Board of Directors met yesterday. We are currently using 13 different fields this fall throughout the two cities and the county to support football, cheer, even some baseball clinics, and then, of course, soccer. Our numbers are strong. We have 272 kids playing soccer. Last year was about 255. We have 195 kids signed up for football. Last year was 188. We just have really strong numbers. We're really proud of that. We also continue to offer all kinds of pickleball opportunities. Since that is thriving in our community, one of our new employees, Christine Clancy, has organized a tournament and also league play, which is actually beginning tonight, the league play. But we have open play 3 nights a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if you like pickleball, there's lots of opportunities via Raro. And of course, there's other organizations that support it. One thing that I just shared to City Council that I just want to share, Public Works always helps in any way that they can. And in our community, there's all kinds of organizations that partner together and share and have agreements and so on. And so you've got this little plot of land where you've got the Raro office and you've got the health department, and there's one dumpster. And they all kind of use the dumpster a little bit, but the health department takes the lead on paying the bill. And well, that dumpster is failing, it's rotting, it's rusting, and the agreement was that they would share the cost of a new dumpster, and that's like $1,600. So it's unbudgeted. And Public Works came to the rescue to repair / replace that dumpster at no cost. And it's just I don't think the public ever gets a true sense of what Public Works does to just make things happen and keep our city looking good, or supporting our nonprofits, supporting our organizations, or supporting our citizens. And so that's just a win for the health department, RARO, and the citizens, because we would have picked up that cost. But Public Works made that happen. And I've also learned when I shared that with council, that's not the first time. And so it's just kind of a neat thing that we've got talent in Public Works, and when they can help, they do help. And so I just wanted to share that just publicly, because I think we all know the MVPs that we have there, but I just wanted to tell you. So that's the extent of my report. I'll take any questions you might have.
Is there still time to sign up for kickball, or is that already?
So kickball, and we're going to have an adult softball league, and the numbers have not been strong. So many of our other offerings have taken off and been strong, but sometimes there's timing of it. Like softball in the spring has done really well, but we were going to try to do it here in the fall. The numbers just weren't there. And kickball is also, we have limited number of teams signed up. However, that doesn't keep you from organizing your, no. Right now, the league is not looking like it's going to happen, but with the way that our staff is, we might just retool, advertise better, maybe in the spring or even next fall. So our director's goal, and through the urging of the board, but it takes a really strong executive director, Chad Coffey, his goal is to have as many adults participating in RARO as we do youth. And I think we know that for a long, long time, we've thought of RARO as youth driven. And while we want to continue to do that, what we're seeing is, whether it's pickleball or it's softball or kickball, we would like to, or even it could be hikes, adults, let's find somewhere that RARO will lead a hike somewhere. And so RARO wants to take that lead long term. It's not going to happen overnight, but that's one of these things where we want to keep branching out, seeing what the community wants and try to offer it. I mean, heck, I've talked about that hunter safety course. We had 28 people show up that day. That's incredible. That's 28 people that took that hunter safety course over at BV Fire Department. I think it was a week ago. So a testament again to what we're trying to offer and fill that niche in the community. So.
Very good. Other questions? Excited for your report, and hearing Public Works as usual going the extra mile and doing exceeding expectations for delivery of services. Thank you for that report. Threshold, Ms. Alexander.
No report.
Very good. For my report, wanted to express my gratitude to Ms. Alexander for leading the August 15 meeting, and for council. Missed to spend time, have dinner with my daughter who was traveling from Austin, Texas, and she ranked higher than council meeting in August. So thank you all for your indulgence, and thank you all for carrying out the work of the council. I also have several recommendations for board appointments and reappointments. And unless there's an objection, what I'd like to do is bring them all forward with the details and vote on them all together. If we need to pull them apart for any reason, let me know. But I think it's shared with most everyone who we're looking at and what direction we're going. So in alphabetical order, the Architectural Review Board, I bring forth Arthur Bartenstein and Ian Small, who will be reappointed for a term ending June 30, 2028, 4-year term. And we have bring forward Charlie Hall for the 4-year alternate term, also ending June 30, 2028. For the Board of Building Code Appeals, Skip Ravenhorst is willing to continue serving and want to reappoint him for a 4-year term ending in June 30, 2028. Board of Zoning Appeals is a 5-year term, would be ending June 30, 2029. Gail McLeod would like to continue serving and be reappointed, and Matt Tuckler has submitted an application. For the Industrial Development Authority, Camille Miller has agreed to be reappointed and will serve immediately with a term, 4-year term ending May 1st, 2028. And received an application from Tom Contos, and he would be filling an incompleted term that would start serving immediately and terminate 5/1 of 26. The Library Board, a 4-year term ending in June 30, 2028, for Alexandra Brown to reappoint, and Mary Jo Brinkley has submitted an application and recommended. For her term will fill the term vacated by Ms. Kirkby, who has moved out of the area, and that will have an ending date of June 30, 2026. And lastly, 4-year term on the Planning Commission ending June 30, 2028, and bring forward the name of Victoria Tori Bates, who submitted an application. And that's all I have for tonight. And I can repeat any of those as necessary, but I offer those for your consideration.
Mr. Mayor, if I
Yes.
might just add, the BZA appointment, as a reminder, is one of those that takes the form of a recommendation to the circuit court, and I just wanted to remind everybody. of that.
Thank you. Yes. And that would be for Gail McLeod and Matt Tuckler, the Board of Zoning Appeals. Yes, ma'am.
Could you repeat the library board again?
Certainly. Library Board, a 4-year term ending June 30, 2028. Alexandra Brown being reappointed. And Mary Jo Brinkley had submitted an application to complete the unexpired term of Margaret Kirkby, and that term will begin immediately and terminate or end 6/30 of 26.
Move to approve Arthur Bartenstein, Ian Small, Charlie Hall, Skip Ravenhorse, Gail McLeod, Matt Tuckler, Camille Miller, Tom Contos, Alexandra Brown, Mary Jo Brinkley, and Tori Bates to the respective boards and commissions that were just mentioned, effective on the dates that were mentioned and the expiration dates that were mentioned.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, ask for a roll call vote. Mr. Alligood.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Ziegler.
Aye.
Mr. Betts. Ms. Strawn. Ms. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. And a special thank you to all the people that applied and are willing to do the work of the community. Some of the other folks I talked to about some other openings, and they are researching, and excited about the opportunities for the boards and commissions, and grateful for the generosity of time and talent in our community. With that, city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few items to brief you on this evening. I had sent out an email previously, but there will be on either the September 19th or the October 3rd council agenda, a request from the library for additional funding for fiscal year 2025. There'll be a full report on that. Ms. Goyette will be at the meeting to present and answer any questions you have. The request is being made to both the city and to Rockbridge County. And so that's just, I'm not sure which agenda it'll be on, but it's in the near term. Second, Chief Green has made a decision to assign one individual from LPD to the recently approved detective position focusing on interpersonal violence. She'll be making that announcement tomorrow. And then there'll be a series of additional promotional and reassignments as a result of that. And that will be included in an email tomorrow, but I'll let Chief Green make that announcement tomorrow. I am pleased to say, with council's approval, we have procured a vehicle for that additional detective. We did get a used Tesla. And so we have our first, to my knowledge, EV in our fleet. It's a Model Y used for a very cost-effective price. It'll be upfitted later in the month with appropriate lights and kit for policing. one council member did have the opportunity to take it for a spin yesterday. Happened upon Councilman Sigler while Chief Green and Lieutenant Condrey and I were out, and we threw him in the back of the car along with Colonel Bobar and took it for a little spin, and I think it performed very well. Yesterday, I had a very productive meeting with General Dallas Clark and Colonel Bubar from VMI. We're continuing to work through the issues of the master meter. The ball is now in my court to get them some additional information in the near term. So I'm working with staff to develop that. The expectation and hope had been that we would have this memorandum of understanding for the master meter in front of you by now. Letting you know that we don't have that done, and the ball's in my court to get them additional information. I want to thank Colonel Bubar for his comments yesterday, as well as we're working through those issues. In the near term, we'll be publishing the dates of some stormwater listening sessions. As you recall, stormwater utility, we're going to be presenting to council either in a work session or before a council meeting or in a separate work session, what we anticipate the funding formula and costs to various property owners will be for the stormwater utility, and more information about how credits would be issued and how those funds would be spent. Those are anticipated to be at the end of September or in early October as well. And finally, city staff is finalizing the plan for swing space, temporary office space for the city hall renovation. I think we'll be bringing forward a lease again, either at the September 19th or October 3rd meeting. That's my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, sir. Council members.
Is the library, did you say that's gonna be on the 19th, or is that different? Do we have a date for that yet, or is?
It's either the 19th of September or October 3rd,
Okay.
either your next or your second to next council meeting.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I received an email earlier today associated with opioid settlements. The McKinsey settlement will be funded soon. It's not much money for the city, about $4,000, but that'll be coming through in short order. It'll obviously have the same limitations on use as the other opioid abatement funds that we've received in the past. I checked with Jen. We think that's new money and not something that's been allocated previously. Other than that, been working on things over the last couple of weeks as they've come up. Worked on the echelon matter that'll come up later in the agenda with the city manager. My colleague, Mr. Lockaby, has been working with Public Works. We've retained a title company to do the title searches for the Jackson Sewer project, and so we're starting to hopefully move the ball forward on acquiring necessary easements there. And have been working with Arnie and fielding some zoning and subdivision questions, some of which we discussed earlier this evening. And some Conflict of Interest Act issues as well that we've been analyzing. Other than that, happy to answer any questions you have. We've definitely got some things coming down the pike that we'll be working on, but happy to respond to any questions.
Very good. Any members, council have questions for the attorney? Hearing none. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Next item is 15.2 regarding the purchase and contract amendment. Calling the city manager to introduce this item.
Thank you, Mayor. As council is aware, in 2023, the city issued a request for proposals, request for qualifications for the 5.4 acre VDOT site off of Waddell Avenue. Its address is 626 Waddell. The city entered into a purchase and sales agreement and development agreement with Echelon. The RFP that we issued in 2023 contemplated a multifamily and mixed use with some commercial site plan for that city-owned property. The city acquired it in the last several years. And in the intervening couple of months, council's aware that Echelon has conveyed that the market conditions are not ripe for them to move forward with a multifamily development. That's true for both the Spotswood property that Echelon has under contract, as well as for the VDOT property, which they also have under a separate contract. So we've had some discussions with them about on the VDOT property only, considering moving forward with a different housing product could be owner occupied townhomes, condominiums, could be single family detached homes, but I think we're thinking that there'll be a relatively higher density owner occupied residential development. And in the discussions, we have determined that we would be well served as a city to issue an additional request for proposals to see if there's any other developer who would be interested in exploring a different housing product than what we initially contemplated in 2023. So this amendment that's before you tonight would allow the city to issue a request for qualifications or request for proposal in the coming months to entertain other interest from other developers, assuming and Echelon will be a participant in that as well. We are still going to be under contract with Echelon if this amendment is approved this evening. But the city will have the right to issue the RFQ. And if council so desires, based on what we receive, to select a different developer, if that's your pleasure. If we think another developer who has expertise in townhomes or owner occupied homes is a better fit for the VDOT property, that will be your choice. So we will have until the end of the calendar year to issue and review the RFQ for other development interest. In consideration for that opportunity that the city is going to issue the RFP, Echelon has asked that if we select somebody else, that we will refund their earnest money, which is a reasonable request. And so in addition to that, Echelon has asked, and this amendment contemplates giving them until the end of March of 2025 to submit for rezoning for the VDOT property. The 2023 agreement that we have with Echelon requires them to submit for rezoning by, I think, October 25th of this calendar year. And if we're out for an RFP for a different plan, they don't want to invest in submitting for rezoning for when we're thinking about changing the plan. So that's a perfectly reasonable request for them to make. And they also have until the end of June next year to complete any other due diligence items that they have under their 2023 agreement. I should point out, because there's a relationship between the VDOT and the Spotswood properties, that by passing this amendment, it's my view that they have the same dates of March and June for any fulfillment of any obligations that they may have on the Spotswood property as well. So by approving this agreement, we're essentially saying Echelon has until next June to complete both any obligations under either agreement. Otherwise, those will lapse at that time. July 24th. Thank you. So we will be issuing an RFQ if you approve this agreement later this month, reviewing them in October, and you'll have November and December to deliberate, meet with any additional developers, and then make a decision to stay with Echelon or select a different developer, in which case we can terminate the agreement with Echelon and negotiate with that new developer that council has selected in November, December timeframe. Happy to answer any questions about this.
There is some slight variation between the dates in the report
Okay.
and then the dates in the contract. And I think, I mean, they're just like a day or so apart, I think. But is it June or July is the intention for the study period?
I'm saying it's July.
July.
Okay, because that was the only one that was a sizable time difference.
Study period under both agreements, as I recall, expired in April.
Yeah.
And so I think that's essentially a 3-month extension.
Is that the same for about the
Yeah.
same for the other? Okay.
It would have, I agree with Tom, it would apply to both.
Okay.
Spotswood and,
Oh, I was asking, do we increase it 3 months for the period that went into March, or is because those dates were consistent, but I just didn't know if there was a.
I think the March was a longer period because that is an extended date from October 24. That was to get us through
Okay.
the bidding and the RFP process, and then be able to make a decision on what, for council to make a decision on which way it wanted to go.
And so the study period is going to be till July 24th.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
And the agreement does, and Tom, you may have mentioned this, and if so, I apologize. It also deals with the VDOT residency building and allows us, if we maintain the agreement with Echelon to use that building as part of, I assume it's part of the swing space, is that?
And the question that I would have is, the RFP is only for the Waddell property.
Yes, that's correct.
Other questions? Ms. Strong?
So if Echelon's proposal is picked, does this contract stay in place with the new dates in it?
That's right.
Okay,
And you may have to revise the scope of that agreement as well, if it's picked for something besides multifamily housing, for example, if they do a townhome proposal, for example.
right. And then, and if we don't pick them, we just pay the $10,000, but they are voiding the contract for both properties. Even though we're just going out for proposal on the one
think they're-
property?
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't think they're voiding the
Spotswood.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wasn't clear on. Okay.
Is that, what is their incentive going to be? What is their interest going to be in proceeding with Spotswood? You know, I can't
Yeah.
speak to that. But they would then still have until July 24th, and if they didn't proceed by the study period, that contract would expire at that point.
Okay, so that study period still continues until that date. Okay, that makes sense.
I would agree. I think contractually, they still have Spotswood under contract until that date in July.
Okay,
However, practically, if council's gone in a different direction on DDOT, that may be enough for Echelon.
okay.
We have until December 20th to, I guess, decide.
That's right.
Is that right?
And also just to affirm what you're asking council and what council's considering, the RFP will have the limitation of housing. It won't be a wide open RFP or RFQ for any and all. It'll just be regarding less dense housing options. Is that the intention?
So my intention is to issue a RFQ that will invite developers to tell us what they think should be on the property. It should be residential largely, but I would entertain, or that RFQ would entertain some sort of mixture of uses, could be commercial, as the RFP did in 2023. But we're going to leave it, at least the way I'm drafting it right now, I'm leaving it up to developers to tell us what they think would work best for them at that site, and then for us to review that. So it could be multifamily, it could be townhomes, it could be single family, it could be something that I haven't thought of.
Multi level storage units, not something that we would smile upon, but if somebody had that vision and wanted to make an offer for that, that would be inclusive of this RFQ. Developer telling us what they want to do.
Yeah, I suspect we simply wouldn't pick something that we didn't want, that wasn't consistent with the main.
Correct.
Renaissance.
But the scope of the RFQ is not limited
That's right.
in focus. Okay.
And what is the difference between a RFP and a RFQ? Because we've gotten into this before and we sort of got stuck on a RFQ before.
I'll offer my answer and then perhaps Jeremy will correct everything I say. I always view a request for qualifications is you are picking a development partner. You're picking the company or firm or team that you want to work with. It is less onerous. It's less for them to respond to. You're not asking that firm to invest significant amount of design and architectural dollars on giving a pretty concept picture of what the site could look like. You're just simply saying, we would like to partner with this firm. That's the qualifications process. A request for proposal is much more detailed. We're looking at their qualifications, but we're looking at what is your vision for the particular property? What is your proposal? And we can accept or reject that proposal. So it's a higher threshold of entry for a request for proposal. That's how I use that language generally, and happy to hear clarifications.
It is in the eye of the beholder. Whatever you call it in the document, however you explain it is what it is.
Oh, okay.
They really don't have defined legal terms. I mean, now there is an RFP in the procurement process, which is for procuring through competitive negotiation, professionals, accountants, things like that. The converse of that is an invitation to bid, which is lowest responsive and responsible bidder. That's not for real estate. RFQs and RFPs, you do see them in construction, requests for qualifications to make sure the proposed general contractor has sufficient skill, finance, capitalization, et cetera, to be able to do a project. So, but in this context, what Tom says is perfectly fine. It is what you ask for in the document at the end of the day that really is what needs to be conveyed, whatever you caption.
Okay, and there's
That-
no obligation on our
I
part.
don't think
yeah.
either is in, the only obligation we have right now is under the current contract with Echelon. And if we want to go forward with an RFP, we need to adopt the amendment because right now we can't really go out with an RFP or an RFQ since it's we're contractually obligated to sell the property. So that's the issue that is presented this evening. The name of the document doesn't matter as much as what ultimately Tom is asking for in that RFQ or RFP. I don't know if that answers your
Yeah,
question.
no, that's
but
great. That did answer it. Yes.
The two are commonly used interchangeably. And it really is all about what the document itself asks for rather than,
Good to know. Thank you.
yeah, Tom's right now.
Let the record reflect the city manager was correct.
Yeah.
Is the response date and the issue date, are those in the, are those dates in the contract?
They are not.
Okay.
The only date I believe that's really operative in regard to our RFP deadline is the December 20th date. So I think we have some flexibility if it takes another week to issue the RFP. That's
Okay.
okay. We're not in breach of our
Sure.
amendment. But we have an end date that we have to manage towards December 20th.
Thank you.
Very good. Other questions?
We talked some in the past about what is the obligation when a local government wants to sell real property. As I mentioned before, procurement doesn't really apply to real estate. It's exempted from the procurement laws. So the process the city council goes through to do an RFQ or an RFP is not mandated. It's something you're electing to do in order to maximize both return for the property and also possible uses of the property. Almost and get as much interest in as many different ideas for development.
Additionally, because this is a proposed amendment, it does not need a supermajority vote.
I agree with that.
Very good. All right.
Does it have a public hearing?
For the amendment?
No.
Okay.
Good
You've
question.
already agreed to sell the property to Echelon after a public hearing, and right now you're just modifying the terms of that agreement. I don't think you're changing materially where a public hearing would be necessary.
There are no other questions. I'd ask for council's consideration of this agreement.
I'll give it a shot. I'll move to approve the proposed First Amendment to the purchase, sale, and development agreement for 5.304 acres plus or minus located at 626 Waddell Street, commonly known as the VDOT property.
Second.
Have a motion, a second, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Ms. Strawn,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Sigler.
Aye.
Mr. Betts, Mr. Alligood,
Aye.
Ms. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all very much, and thank you, City Manager, for the work in bringing this forward and the cooperation with Echelon as we continue to partner and trying to find a way to develop that property and have something we can all be proud of. We do have a closed meeting scheduled, and before Ms. Alexander reads us into this meeting, I don't anticipate that there'll be any business conducted other than the adjournment of our regular meeting once we come back into regular session. With that, Ms. Alexander, if you'll read us in.
I move that the city council of the city of Lexington convene in closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A3 for the purpose of discussing and considering the acquisition of publicly held real property at 106 East Washington Street, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the city's bargaining position or negotiating strategy, and Virginia Code 2.2-3711A8 for the purpose of consultation with legal counsel retained by the city council on specific legal matters requiring legal advice.
Second.
Thanks, Nick, for the second. Roll call vote. Ms. Vaughn,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Sigler,
Aye.
Mr. Betts,
Aye.
Mr. Alligood,
Aye.